Margin of Strange is a game made by Future Cat Games. I do not own any of the assets in this video, except my voice of course. Margin of Strange is, to put it simply, a story-driven farming game. It was a project Night Margin has been preparing and thinking for over half their lifetime. Now, moving on to the analysis. Oh yeah, and also, the main character's name is Ling. So I forgot to explain the two different worlds in Margin of the Strange, so I'll just explain it right now. There's the dream world and the waking world. And that's all you need to know, yeah. In the dreaming world, which I'll be referring to Margin from now, is where most of the gameplay consists of. In Margin, you'll most likely spend most of your time scattering about collecting resources and admiring the luminous spaces. Now, where do we use these resources? To progress further into the game, of course. Or use them to upgrade your home base. And yes, there is a tycoon element in the game, so be ready for the grind. In your home base, you can have a garden which you can use to grow resources. You're also able to grow exclusive resources, but there also might be resources you can't grow, so use them wisely. But you don't always have to harvest these plants for resources. You can also eat them, presumably, to gain energy. Or better yet, use them to make new friends, business partnerships. More on this energy system later. You can also go visit a skilled crafts moth called Hesper. They will sell you various items for your expedition and progression. Now, the juicy part, the game systems. The energy system in Margin of Strange wasn't explained one bit, but we can pretty much speculate what it does. It's basically an action counter which limits how much you can do in one dream session, sorta like Stardew Valley's energy system. As you can see here, Lane here swings a pipe. Scary. It is unknown if the world of Margin is dangerous, but judging by how the system is made, there might be a few foes out there that might want to hunt us down. Attacking costs energy, and there are two types of attacks, light and heavy. Light attacks are just swings which take a minor amount of energy, while heavy attacks are long wind-up attacks that take a bit more energy, but also presumably does more damage. Those weird numbers up there represent two things, money and whatever that is. Most likely a progression material. How money is earned is unknown, but it's speculated you gain money by either decommissioning enemies and selling resources. The red circle, which I'll call fragments, are most likely a progression material that is used to buy upgrades or items that let you explore further into Margin, hinted by Hesper's catalog. Surprisingly, the character UI is shattered, and holy shit, I just realized! Link from Bone Child is Link in Margin of Strange! I did not know that, goddamn. Either way, the shattered fragments most likely represent how much memory you've collected, shows your progression, and unlocks new areas. It is also connected to the shrine mirror we see here. Also, the mirror is cursed. Weird. Now, for the interactables in Margin. We have only seen Ling here interact with two objects, but we can pretty much assume that these pots here are also interactable, and so for this table thing. The pink bushes we see here seem to be indestructible by normal means of violence, and require us to use a special method to get through. Mayhaps something related to candles. The crystal chunk we see here is most likely a way for us to gain materials. Maybe those flowers and stuff can also be destroyed. The pots, or more actually water tiles, are places where we can garden for materials, and also eat them. The table here most likely is a way for us to access the waking world. That looks mighty uncomfortable to lay on though. Also apparently, according to the website, you can drink sugar water and stare at lamps. Mod things, really. You also only have 6 weeks to unravel the mystery behind Link's past, his death, and his sister. In the waking world, you can explore around various places finding clues and fragments of your memory. You can also meet the dreamers who recreate parts of the Margin and befriend them. I also speculate you'll be able to interact with the spook over here and piece together your collected memory fragments to make up the story. But other than that, there isn't much known about the Waking World's gameplay. Now, let us move on to the characters, the flesh and bone of story-driven games. Link's our protagonist for this journey. He is a bewildered man, and is confused about his place in this world, who he is, and what happened to him. But he's not that concerned. He just takes it in all in with a stride, and goes onward, led by his curiosity alone. And maybe his guilt? During his older iterations, where he went by Melkin, He's described as a patient person who's not very confident and isn't very social either. He also was an orphan and worked for the same orphanage that he grew up in. Judging from all the information we have about Merkin, Ling will most likely be an introvert who likes to talk to those he is close to, but has a hard time talking to anyone else. He also is kind and caring, judging from his relationship with Mimo, and he also might be a bit shy, judging from the art we see. A resident of Margin, who likes to think of himself as a mastered manipulator, cocky. He revived Ling with the intent of using him as a gateway to the waking world, and using him as a host, though he was only successful with the first part. I speculate Nil to be a cocky little guy who will act like a tsundere. A resident of Margin, Hesper is a jack of all trades handy moth who can craft you anything you wish for a few pieces of glass and some money. I believe Hesper will be a cute little fella who is going to be very helpful and will be emotional support for all of us. Teen genius with a questionable sense of ethics. She tricked Ling into becoming her latest science experiment, which Ling really doesn't seem to mind. During her older iterations, she went by the name Sheep. For first impressions, I thought she would be an absolute psychopath, which was kinda true, but she is also sweet and nice to people, if she can afford to be. Sheep also seems to love bells and is talkative. She also always seems to have a smile on her face and never really gets angry nor sad. Judging from the information we have about Sheep, I believe Amarath will be the type of person you expect to murder you brutally without a single change of expression, but is actually very soft and caring, though I doubt she'll really show any other emotion other than the smile. And also, I'm going to call her Amarath. Amaranath is way too hard to pronounce. Blue Hackett, or now a Windlock, is very timid and unconfident. He suffers from a disease called Arithmania, whatever that's called, and is quite dependent on Amarath. He enjoys drawing and bird feeding, and he also likes making mazes and asking other people to solve it. Neon Face, or Seaboy, presumably Aelita Ranclair, but I couldn't find what type of person Aelita Ranclair was, so this part is 100% speculation. Carefree and loves the sea, Seaboy here is most likely an extrovert who likes to take it chill and slow. He doesn't like to be very active and likes to diddle-daddle around, but when he has to work, he gives it his best. Maybe the clean Windlock. The Sky. Dangerous. Most likely related to Amarath and most likely provides her with dangerous equipment. I think he'll be a villain, evident by his sudden glass shift. I believe he's based off Clean Windlock, a character who was introduced in earlier versions of Margin. And also, I'm not gonna speculate anything about him, I just don't like him. Ling's sister, Mimo, or Miu, or Momo, an orphan who grew up in the same orphanage Ling grew up in. She is mute and doesn't really seem to show emotion. That's all we know about Mimo. Yeah, really that's all. Though she is featured in many of Night Merchant's earlier works, so there might be information that I missed. There's nothing we know about Hespe, nothing at all. But I speculate there will be a trailer who will make us exquisite grip, and will aid Ling on his journey by providing him with wisdom. For their personality, I think they'll be like an old grandma, kind and caring. There's nothing we know again, so I'll speculate again. Smart, always calm, simple, and has been through everything. They'll most likely be the grown-up. Again, we don't know anything, so I'm gonna speculate. Tanshi here feels like she'll be a happy girl who likes to make others smile too, but she also seems to be hiding a dark past away. The story of Margin of the Strange isn't really known other than the fact that we will be traversing Margin, that Ling died once, and that he has a sister. There's also a flash comic of Margin of the Strange, which was made long ago, so I'll be speculating off that. Do note that everything here is mostly speculation and the story will most likely change in the full release. But if you don't want to hear the story, then you can skip to this timestamp that I'll most likely link in my editing hours. Ling here died during the fire in his orphanage, but then was revived by Nil in Margin. But Ling forgot everything about himself and his past, so Nil and Ling set out to recover Ling's memory. Also, Nil may be plotting world dominance, but that's unsure. What Ling's past is unknown, but from what we know from its earlier character concepts, he seems to be an orphan who later on grew to work at the orphanage that he grew up in, and there, he is tasked with taking care of a young child who goes by the name Mimo. But one day, a fire broke out in the orphanage, consuming a part of the orphanage as well as Mimo and Ling. And that's basically all we know. Margin of the Strange is Night Margin's lifelong project, sorta. They have thought of this concept ever since they were in school, and have attempted to be made in many ways. Which means that Margin of the Strange's story and its world will be a very intricately woven masterpiece and carefully thought of. You can also go view some of the older concepts for Margin of the Strange in Night Margin's DeviantArt page, as well as watch a flash version of Margin of the Strange on YouTube, both links in the description. To end it off, Margin of the Strange is estimated to release around the May of 2027 to around early 2028. Thanks for watching. Now, this part isn't meant to be heard by the average viewer, only Night Margin. But if you so wish to, I really can't stop you. Also, I made a few mistakes during this performance, so don't bully me. Anyways, considering that you're Night Margin, I just wanted to say thank you for creating one-shots. One-shots shaped me as a person and, dare I say, one of the biggest things that ever happened in my life. It allowed me to realize that everything always comes to an end, and sometimes you can't have both and you need to sacrifice some things. It also allowed me to find my dreams and help me during my hardest times. But I'll be honest, I also blame you for making me antisocial, as it made me way too mature for my age when I first played one-shot, and well, other kids didn't like that. But thinking back, I think that is what defines me right now, a kid who's much more mature than he needs to be. So, thank you. Moving away from one-shots, I'm also excited to play Margin of the Strange, as Lane here, or at least Milken, is quite similar to me as he enjoys what I enjoy and seems to be quite similar to me in personality. And I wish to know how he'll combat through his hard times as well. As of writing this, and as embarrassing it is to admit, I am also going through those hard times. Well, maybe not entirely the same as Milken, but I've been feeling quite down recently, and I don't know, I just felt down really. But don't worry about me too much. I know that I'll be able to combat through these hard times as I always have in the past, but it just does get a little annoying sometimes when I really don't have anyone to vent to during these hard times, as I don't want to worry anyone that I know, because I just want them to always be happy, and I just want to always be reliable to them. And ending this off, I just once again want to say thank you for making One Shot and crafting an excellent story. It allowed me to find my true self amongst the rubble of me, and, well, allowed me to find the path I wish to take. I can't, I actually can wait for Margin of the Strange, as it will release in like 3 years, but I'm excited to see what you have written and thought of for over half your lifetime. Of course, it won't have the same effect on me as One Shot did, as, well, I've read many stories and I've emotionally matured, but I'm always eager to experience a new story, so keep it up. Anyways, bye! And for those who have heard this was a Night Margin, whatever I guess, just don't go out of your way to lend me a helping hand. I wish to partake in this journey alone this time. And that's the end of the message. Enjoy the rest of the performance, though it won't really be that good as it was my first time playing in like a couple of months.